Evening, guys. Sunday, 2 hours roughly until the markets are closing, and we will be looking at, just a quick update on silver, gold. Where are we? It's been a while, so we have something to look into. I think gold is coming to a point where it's gonna show its colors. Do we break down from the wedge, or do we break out from it? Same thing with Bitcoin. I think it's borderline. Again, we could collapse any day, but we could also just surge any day. So we are basically at that tipping point. And what else did we have here? We have, I think, platinum is going to have one more leg down. It looks like that's what's in for us. Again, remember, long term, we're still insanely bullish, but I think we're going to have one more wave down. But let's dive into the stuff here, and I will try to incorporate again the momentum, my momentum indicator up here. I think sometimes you get really good structures, and that is extra verification to the setup. Sometimes, again, we don't. Again, it's just an extra layer that we try to incorporate. Really good, good old silver here. For this one, I really want to show you the daily momentum. Look at that again. If we can break silver here, momentum wise, remember this is only momentum against the 200 daily in this case. So you can see here that we are definitely outperforming, right? Since we are above the zero line, basically the momentum or the 200 daily is the flat line here. And then you measure the distance from the price to that. So if we are above the 200 day, and then you measure the price. So if we can break that, that would be tremendous because that means we are breaking momentum against the uptrend. So again, let's see what happens. Again, we are not celebrating anything until we break to the upside, but that is very clean. And that's, when we use it, we use it when we have very clean setups on momentum. That will guide us as well. So silver, not a whole lot has happened basically since we broke 35. Personally, I would have thought we would have gained more momentum, but for now, again, it's still looking okay. Still making those higher highs and higher lows. Um, so I think silver is not, it is interesting, but I think we get a better view on gold. Remember, this is a major uptrend, so it favors, continuation. It really does. It favors continuation. So what happened is that we actually broke down from our initial wedge here, and then we have actually formed a more symmetry wedge to the, again, where we have the lower side and the upper side, the angle is basically the same, roughly. That is good. That is what we're looking for. We held the lows here after the breakdown. So you can now see here as well, we have like a fractal within a fractal. And you can see here, right, we have that. So we are also, kind of wedging up there as well. So I think the move that we're going to see here either way, to the upside, it will be more explosive and we're going to go higher because you have momentum. If we drop down, there will be a lot of buying opportunities coming in, right? And people buying, the weakness coming in. So yeah, gold remains. I will still say that 3,440, that high there, is still my go-to point. When we get above there, it's game on. And again, you can take the lows here, but again, once we start to break that low as well. So for sure, 3,250, very bad, getting below that level. But if we start to get below 3,275, we can start to potentially see that, hey, we might want to break down. But again, I think gold will be, this is the daily, so 1, 2, 3, we will get to here during. So I think we could come close this week here to break that little internal bull flag here, right? And we could come close to breaking that either way. So gold is the one to look for. It will show the direction for silver. I'm not gonna lie. If we're gonna puke here for gold, again, we could see 3,000. I say we could see 3,000 because that is again a level that were only tested once. But if we go to there, I don't think silver will. I think silver will drop as well, equally as much as gold, maybe a little bit more. But Good. Platinum here it is. Remember long term, we had a 15-year breakout, and these are almost always correct. I mean, rarely do they produce such a big, steep breakout like this was right there without producing, two more highs at least before, we're going to see the bigger pause. So, but for now here on the daily, I want to show you this bear flag or bearish setup. That is bearish. No matter how we look at it on the daily here, we had a big puking day there, the last day of July, and then we have just been, grinding a little bit to the upside, forming that wedge. So if we start to break down below here, the golden, then we're back within the downtrend. And I actually think if we break down here, I will change the downtrend to that instead, because then we have more extreme. Yeah, I think this is actually, if we break down from here, we're going to go to roughly 1,000, 1,200, maybe a little bit below. So still weakness in platinum on the short time frames. And it's my total, bias here that whenever we see the breakdown of the structure, that entry that we will get, when we'll get it, we don't know. But when we get the entry that we like, I think that is a buying opportunity to either add into platinum and or buy for the first time, right? So this is the initial break, and again, we could see that whole thing do something funky. I'm just drawing here, and if we get some sort of break here, that is when you can go in. So we are basically waiting to see where the lowest point will be for platinum and what kind of structure we will get. Again, let's say we make a new low here, which I think is very much in the cards. If that's the final low here, then we can start to project, but the next move here, and we can start to see which target aligns up. Because if we get, let's say that is the low, right, then we can start to project, okay, well, then you can see the Fibonacci's, the 100% measured move is roughly 2,000. So again, then we can start to look at stuff in a better way, and that is also when, again, this is in my view, the beginning of some sort of uptrend. So all of a sudden, we can maybe start to get the uptrend going, but we don't know yet. We need to see how it is going, or how it's going to form, basically. So platinum, short term, the outlook is more downside. Yeah, more downside. Palladium here had some hopes, but then Friday it gave it. I think it gave it away, and now we're gonna come down and finally touch that double support at roughly 1,100 bucks. The reason is we have some long-term trend lines here, shorter trend line, uptrends hitting that cross section, and we are kind of like flagging here, even though it's not picture perfect. But again, it depends on how you draw this stuff. And you could maybe make this a parallel. I haven't really been testing that, so maybe something like that. So, but we are definitely flagging one way or the other, and we are gonna see where we stand here. So again, just below 1,100, I think we're gonna. That's at least where we see double support, which is nice, and also actually triple, right? It is actually triple support, because I will say uh, something like this going in there. We have some highs over here, almost touching there, breaking out, back test, back test. So yeah, 1,100 is a big number for palladium. Let's see how it does, right? Let's see how it does. Do we have something going on the 2 hourly on momentum? Could be. Oh, it doesn't work on the 2 hourly. For some reason, it doesn't work for the 2 hourly. I have no clue. This is again one of, like, the big moments, you can call it, in the gold and silver ratio. Again, we are having, it's not a, there are bigger moments, but we do have a big trend line where we are basically testing again. And if we again start to drop below, that is very good. That's very, very good. But overall, we are actually very bearish on this ratio until proven otherwise. And when are we disproven? For now, as long as we are below that trend line, there is no reason to think that that gold and silver will crash as a default, right? Because when we see gold come down hard, silver will do worse. Therefore, we will see some spiking going on here. So the bias is still down, but again, remember, it doesn't take much to actually break out. And if we also get above that 1992 area, then for sure we're going to be in for some rough seas. And yeah, also look at that, breakdown from this trend line here, touching there for the third time, breakdown, back test. So the bias is down, which we are actually quite happy with. That is how we like it. The Dixie here, again, I could actually remove all this stuff because it's a bit tricky. But the downtrend was broken there, you know that, breaking out deep back test, and now we're making a higher high. If we hold here, then we are potentially in an uptrend, but it's not like the bulls are getting, overly, aggressive buying here. And again, one could also argue that, again, this is some sort of bear flag going on. Not the most pretty one, I know, but some sort of bear flag. But again, I want to see us getting below to really confirm this stuff here. At least getting down to close to 97. But it's a mixed bag, and you can see again we're testing a an important trend line because that is the high of 2020. So that is where everything broke. The bond market broke, right? You see the earthquake needle, boom, boom, then calm, and then boom, collapse. So even though we have gone higher, it doesn't mean that when you see this type of pattern here on any time frame, you can go and look on the cocoa as well. After the breakout, it was actually trying to correct. Then you had, I think, a few like 2 or 3 days where you did this whole um, thing here, and then you basically saw that earthquake needle all of a sudden, and then that's what we're seeing here. That is the bond market breaking actually. Um, but again, even though we're up here, it doesn't mean that we have restored everything. This is something breaking. When you see this huge boom boom whipsaw, something is breaking. And you can use that on any chart. But we're testing an uptrend. We're testing like a downtrend here or like support. So a lot of funky stuff happens here at roughly 19, um, just below 100. Like Bitcoin, trick. Bitcoin is it's really toying with you here because we had a move. One second there. We had a move, right, where we actually broke the prior all-time high. And then you just had, boom, the candle thereafter completely hammering down. Both candle on high volumes. These are dangerous, right? Everyone is bullish. And I'm not saying that we're going to crash, but I'm just, again, I would say this if this was silver as well. Again, these kind of like liquidity sweeps here, boom, and then you're going to come down. Trend lines going back a half a year, also breaking potentially here on the 4th. Um, so let's see. Again, everyone is bullish Bitcoin, and understandably so, right? But that thing last week is definitely something that we should watch because if we lose that uptrend there, I think we're going to go down to at least 110. And if we lose 110, both momentum-wise and on the weekly, that could be really bad. So the Bolts really want to have this to be like a bull flag tag here, right? We are testing the bull flag and then rally higher. Fine, then we're gonna go. Or just straight away grind it out here and then grind higher. That is what the Bolts really want to do here in over the next, basically this week or into the next, right? But this week for sure, it needs to do something. And this here was again futures opening last week. I was very interested in that because you had Sunday breakout, and then again you could start to see that hey, we could see a big move. But now we're on the defensive side again, all of a sudden, right? With that whole testing that uptrend after what could be something dangerous. I need to see a little bit more, but yeah, oil again struggling. I think oil is going to do well. Again, look at platinum. So I think when platinum starts to resume, so will oil, right? But for now, on the daily, there's really nothing to be happy about. This was the whole Trump tariff thing. Huge move down, bear flag, testing our big green breakout zone here at roughly 65 and just sliding lower. Right. So right now, there's not a whole lot of happiness in oil. And I don't think, unless we see some really crazy price movements, I could see, 60 getting hit this week, and we are now at 62 and change. I could see that tag there. So unless we get something that takes us back above, then I'll change my statement, right? Then I'll definitely change my statement. And I think we could add that, to be honest. That's actually quite an interesting wedge coming in between the breakout here and then that one. It's not confirmed yet, but I think I'll leave it. I like that. The US 10-year rates. Yes. Ooh, the one. You can see we had a big technical breakdown there. We talked about it. Again, that is why we're still a bit on our toes, right? Because if we really took out that low there, which we didn't, it doesn't mean that we are out of the woods yet, but we didn't take it down. Um, then it would have been very bearish. The reason is then the bond market, at least the rates were going to come down initially, and you could see some lower rates, which is typically danger in the horizon. Now we came down double bottom, and now we're kind of like curling up higher again. I think either way will be really bad. And that's the case. It sounds so dumb, right? But if we're going to initially have like a small collapse in rates, that is, of course, something is wrong and people are going into bonds, even though bonds is not a safety anymore, right? It's not. It was until 2020, or maybe 2022. At that point, it was a safety where you could go into bonds if you could see the stock market would correct or stall for a long time, bonds could be a play. That is over. You're not getting the same reward to the risk when it comes to bonds. So that again, we could see some sort of puke here um, and we could have been in some turmoil. But I think ultimately we are in higher highs and higher low scenario. And you can just zoom out here. I'm going to show you it again. Look at that. Again, this is the reason why, having variable rates until basically 2022 was a really good investment where you basically, remortgaged here. When we came down, you did it again. Boom, 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 boom. House paid off. Happy days. This you can't do in an uptrend. You can't do that in an uptrend. Um, and again, I don't think many people are, but if you're having, variable rates to the house, I wouldn't say scared, but we're definitely in a scenario where that risk taking a few percent lower interest rate compared to the market, I don't think that's worth it. And with that said, and what I've been saying many times, we could see that last big low, big higher low, right? Higher high and higher low. We could see that only to crush everything when it comes to rates, right? So again, there can be a point where, and that's again, if you can come down here and you can convert, again, do your own thing, of course. But if we're going to come down here, right, this is the US 10-year again, but it depends on your country. But if we get a big leg down, I would consider going from variable to fixed. I think that is from a risk reward perspective. Again, that is how I would do it. Again, that's on me. That's what I think, of course. It's a big decision, but variable rates is not working anymore according to my view. Here we have the SPY where we had this idea that hey, we could and then break down. Clearly, nope. We just went straight. Excuse me. We just went straight up ever since. So this can clearly be removed. That didn't happen. So right now again, the SPY and the QQQ for that instance looks flaming hot. But it's also there when things are most not looking for some sort of what's the correct word? Like an ambush or something like comes out of the blue, right? Um, Let's see again. I have no preference. It looks really strong now, making just chucking off higher and higher. And I'm not going to call it top here, but yeah, the SPY is grinding higher. It really is very strong. Same thing here for the QQQ. I don't have much on here. Um, I could see that backtest happening, potentially with a close here. Um, we are, again, that thing there. We just had July, 2 days, just plump, plump, and then we grinded higher. Very weird price action. Again, did we see a lot of shorts go in here and then getting smoked after? I don't know. But the QQQ and the SPY is definitely in a weird place. Right now it looks really bullish, but I could see that all of a sudden where we get some really funky stuff going. When? I don't know. Copper, again with that whole what was it like tariffs? No, this was some sort of I can't remember what triggered that. Was it the FOMC? Yeah, I think it was. And some other statements as well. And again, I want to just look at the 15 minute here. I want to go to the 1 minute actually. I think the 1 minute. We never look at the 1 minute. I know, but let's check it here if I can. Let's go. Come on, really. Look at that again. This is a 20% drop, and then you retrace like 10%, and then you're down again. That shows you how leveraged the entire system is. Um, Truly incredible. And remember, copper is shorted, yeah, and leveraged, hell yes. But looking at oil and silver, this is nothing, right? So again, yeah, crazy stuff. I think the copper miners, if I remember correctly, is actually doing quite well, which is a good sign, right? They're not believing that paper shuffle 20% down is has anything to it yet. Good. Here we have what do we have here? We have coal, the NCF, and we did break here, and then all of a sudden we rolled over. Again, in coal, again, we're trying to break some structure here. Bit of a false breaky coming down. That's not good. And I think we're going to look for more downside. Bit of a tricky price action here, but you could argue that we did create that whole kind of like channel there, and then we broke it down. So let's see what gold is doing. Definitely some weakness coming in here, where we have been trading down for the past 10 days. Um, Sometimes you get a flush down before you go. I don't think we are there giving the whole chart, but let's see on coal. Bit disappointing there. Gas here still bearish. Yeah, I still think we're gonna go down to the blue, which is right around there. And we're talking 2.68. We're now at 2.9, so we still have 0.20 cents to go before we find support. And then again, it needs to, again, for gas really to rally. Of course, we want to break that wedge, right? So again, we want to get back above and then into the golden as well. Then we're looking forward. But until then, again, we have a bearish mindset on nat gas, and we could also get a full backtest of the yellow, like with a bit of a flush at the end there, and then we're gonna grind higher. So let's see what gas is doing. This blue one here could give us a really powerful entry at some point in time in gas, in good old gas here. Same thing here again for the TTF, which is the European one, still stuck in that daily downtrend, which is basically the highs of 2025 and coming down and down. Bit of a bear flag going on there, pennant there. So you get the idea. We are definitely trending down. Do we have any structures going on here? Anything that can help us? Nah, not really, no. So last, not least, the TLT has been stuck in this wedge kind of pattern here for basically, roughly a year now. Well, yeah, 1 year. Jesus, it goes fast. And until we break that upper golden, I'm not really bullish on rates per se. I need to see that one breaking. Not bullish on rates, but bullish on the TLT, therefore rates coming down, right? And getting back to that hole, we could see that final big higher low on the 10-year. That's the same here again. I think I'm not saying we are because we haven't broken and or anything, but we could see that final Hail Mary flight to safety, which people think it is, but it's not. And then, oh yes, we're gonna roll over like that again. And this, wave up will create the rate to come down to that big high low, and then everything rolls over, and we're gonna be in a lot of pain. Um, we're gonna be in a ton of pain, right? So something like that. I think it's very plausible. So we might not even break that one, but still, this drawing was just like a doodle, just to get the idea that we could have a spike higher, only to roll over. So that is it for me here. I hope it gave you some insights in what I'm looking at. And if I were to take anything away, I will say gold. Look at that wedge pattern. Um, you can also do gold. This is actually quite kind of cool. Gold on world currency units, which is a basket of fiats where you actually get a perfect wedge. So this one here tells you everything you need to know on gold. And I would actually look at this more than gold in the USD. And that says on this here, the gold in world currency units, right? 2,565-ish is that high. And the low side is 2,460 in that basket of currencies. Anything below, not good. Anything above, really good. So this one here, I would definitely look at every day as of now until we see which way it breaks. And an early indication could be that wedge break, right? So unless it's a false breakdown, then either way we go, that's most likely the direction. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You get the idea, right? So that is again gold. And I think if gold starts to really correct here, I think it is a sign of something bad to come, right? Liquidity. But again, let's see what happens. Bitcoin, I would for sure look at. Again, that uptrend there. Again, you can draw it in multiple ways, but I think this is the correct one. Heading into the futures open, I think we need a good momentum boost. When we enter the futures opening, we typically see the direction for the entire week most of the time, and we need that boost now. What else should we look at? I think these are the prior and the Dixie, of course, at that triple support zone where we are now. Before you go, I want to show you again, this is related to the Bitcoin. And again, these stocks here has gained massively. Of course, they've been buying a lot of Bitcoin, doing really well, like MicroStrategy. Um, the counter side to that, in my view, is also if they start to take a beating, again, MicroStrategy is not a small company. How small are they? 100 billion, right? So if they start to get whacked, that is not an instant, a small amount. And I just want to show you here, we have the yellow uptrend, right? Again, you can draw it multiple ways, but I've been taking that high, these two, that high. You get the idea. So we have kind of like a rail. I couldn't draw a perfect uptrend. So then sometimes you have to use a rail to capture the wicks. And look at this here, right? 360 roughly, maybe 380, 57, whatever. But that trend line there, if that gives in, unless again, we could see false breakdown, absolutely. But if we start to get below that until proven otherwise is extremely bearish on MicroStrategy in my view. And that will be, I think, a sign to crypto and therefore also tech that they're about to get smoked. So very interesting first few days in the markets for MicroStrategy. So that one I would be looking at as well, even though we mostly do commodities. I think this one here is, again, you want to look at the entire markets, and this one here could be a big move down if we get that. Let's see. I have nothing more. The video turned out to be a lot longer than my plan, but when I talk, I just keep going sometime. And yeah, let's see what happens, guys. Check out the prior videos. I still think I'm talking again because I have so much to. I still think Tesla here is looking good. Again, we're back testing the breakout point textbook, right? So still think that is fine. Again, stops can be placed below the yellow here or the recent swing low. So there are. But again, check out the videos that we have done there. Now I will leave you for sure.